Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. The eye is a mirror. When you look into an eye, you can see a small, tiny version of yourself that kind of looks like a doll version of yourself. The Latin word for a little doll is a pupilla. That's where we get the word pupil for a young student and the word pupil for the dark hole in the middle of your eye. It's a pupil because when you look into it, you see the pupilla of yourself, the tiny doll version of you. And you are in for a treat today, something a little bit different than usual, but I think you'll like it. I've been working with Adam Savage on our tour, Brain Candy Live, and I decided to give him a tour of my brain candy, the little things I have on my desk, the desk I work at every day that are sweet to the noggin. But before that, here is a sneak peek at Brain Candy Live, but not really.
This is Brain Candy right here. We've been
literally, yeah. This is the show.
We've spent the last couple of days here, and all the little colored pieces of paper. Right, for you it's blurred because we don't want to give it away.
Yeah, well, maybe give that one away? Psych! You gotta come to the show.
Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, let's not mess this up.
This is how I think through a narrative. It's either like this or on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
I can't actually type it out linearly.
Yeah, and you can see how dense parts are. You can see by colors where the audience is involved, where there's gonna be something dangerous, and how they'll maybe spread those out properly.
Okay, but wait, this is not why we're here. We're here because we're in Michael's amazing Vsauce space in Los Angeles, and I happen to notice that your desk is awesomely messy and yet covered with stuff that I wanted to get my hands on, and we realized we should just shoot that. So,
okay.
You had a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to clean it up, but Adam kind of convinced me, no. The way it is the way we're gonna film it. So, this is just pure, unadulterated truth, and that's really what I'm about.
Let's go take a look.
Go take a look.
All right, so why do you feel like a little bit reticent to show off your, this is awesome by the way, your desk?
You couldn't set design this with this much chaos, unless you had like a photo to go off of. But I'm nervous because, I mean, I don't know, there could be something here that I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, okay, here's a half-drink energy drink from yesterday. I'm gonna finish this today. I like them flat. I like them room temperature. I really want to show you this Stirling Engine. This is so precisely made. It is powered just by the heat of your hand. No. So put your palm out, and then we'll let that warm up for just a second. Meanwhile, get all that blood in your hand. But the thing is, it doesn't need a lot of heat underneath it. It just needs a temperature difference between the surface on top here, the disc on top, and the disc that's touching your hand. So while you're holding that, because we need to get that bottom warmed up a little bit. Funny phrase. Here, let's admire some indium.
Indium?
Indium. It is the only element in the universe you can chew like bubblegum.
What?
It's a soft metal. It gets softer when warm, but it's also non-toxic.
Wow.
And it's quite rare. I heard it's on the endangered elements list. In 100 years, there might not be really any found in the ground.
So is this a particularly large chunk of indium then?
In 100 years it might be, or it might not be. I mean, there's some guesswork involved in knowing what the Earth has and what it's gonna run out of. But
I'm denting it with my fingernail.
Exactly. And you can take a bite out of it. I wouldn't recommend it because it's quite cold in here and it could be a little firmer than your teeth want. But I took a piece off and I melted it in this beaker. Because you can make awesome mirrors with it.
This is like a wonderful wish list for me of other things to play with. Because I think if we went through my desk and my space at my shop, there'd be a whole bunch of stuff. You'd be like, oh, I didn't know those existed. We got to get some of those. Yeah.
I'm gonna give it just a little turn.
All right.
But as you'll notice, even though I didn't put that much energy in, it won't slow down.
Wow.
It's just gonna keep going. How does this engine work? Well, it's all about temperature, a kinetic approach to defining temperature. The air is made of molecules moving and shaken around. Their collisions produce what we call air pressure. Now, we say that warm air expands, but really it just has more energy. When a gas warms up, its kinetic energy increases. Its molecules literally move faster, translationally, rotationally, and vibrationally. As a result, the average force they all exert when colliding increases. If the container therein isn't perfectly rigid, these collisions, stronger on average than those coming from the other side, will push the container's walls out, expanding the space within. Now that's what happens in our engine. Our engine has two pistons, a power piston responsible for moving the big wheel, and a displacer piston that shuttles around the air inside. Your hand warms the air inside, giving it more kinetic energy, enough to push the power piston up, turning the wheel. The wheel's motion then pushes the displacer down, moving the air away from the warmer bottom plate, causing it to rapidly cool and collide with the container's walls and the power piston less often and with less force, so the piston falls, turning the wheel with it. The wheel's momentum now drags the displacer piston up, pushing air down to the warm plate where it gains energy, collides with the power piston more powerfully again, sending it back up, beginning the cycle again. It's surprising just how quickly air can cool and warm enough to move the piston. It's fast. A classic example of this is the old egg sucking trick. Put something burning in a bottle and stick a peeled boiled egg on top. Then suddenly, poop, the egg plops into the bottle. This is often explained as being caused by a vacuum forming in the bottle because the oxygen inside got used up, leaving fewer molecules within to combat the pressure coming from without. But that's not true. The oxygen used by the fire doesn't disappear from the universe. That would violate the laws of physics. Instead, the flame turns it into things like water vapor and carbon dioxide. There are, however, fewer molecules in the bottle when the egg is placed on top, but not because they were destroyed by a fire. Instead, it's because the heat of the flame gave them enough energy to push their way out. Air pushing against the egg can get out because the egg is shaped in such a way that lifting it opens the seal. But once the flame burns out, the air inside starts to cool right away, and, well, there's less of it inside now. External atmospheric pressure is stronger, but the shape of the egg is such that pushing this way only tightens the seal. The air inside continues cooling, pushing less and less until the pressure difference is enough that the entire egg gets pushed in. And that's a piece of brain candy if you ask me. The egg isn't sucked into the bottle so much as it's just pushed in by the atmosphere, because the pressure inside, which would normally be pushing back equally, has become weaker. Likewise, you don't really suck liquid up through a straw, you just cause the air in your mouth to push against it through the straw less than usual, so the air outside can win against you and push the liquid into your mouth. So make sure the haters know, scientifically, nothing sucks. Anyway, back to how messy my desk is. I think this does give a good sense of what's in my mind and how episodes look too. It's like kind of a mess.
This is what an episode looks like in your head before it comes to fruition.
And my tolerance for mess is really high.
Okay.
So if I needed to work, I wouldn't even move anything. I'd be like, look, the trackpad and the keyboard are accessible.
Yeah.
But it's also inspiring to have the little things around to fidget with. For instance, these cast puzzles. That one is called Spiral.
Oh, wow.
The craftsmanship on some of these puzzles is just fantastic.
I didn't realize it was a puzzle. Oh my goodness.
All those pieces come apart.
They do?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem possible.
Exactly. And what they do is they, I think, exercise the part of my brain that deals with three-dimensional visualization, because I don't think I'm very good at that. It takes me weeks to see something in my head. So I'm trying to you know what these are really good for is finger strength, because they're heavy, and if you toy around with one for a whole day, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting some nice tone.
What you said about the seeing something in your head, I mean, that's the same way I build stuff. I can't start building unless I can see the structure in my head.
Do you think you're really good at visualizing things in your mind?
Yeah, no, actually, there's a turn that happens as a maker where you start being able to just build stuff in your head.
Wow.
And turning it over and trying different materials.
Or did practice make it a better skill?
Totally, practice makes it a better skill. And every time I attack a new material, it's the same thing.
This is another puzzle?
That's another one, and that one is really fascinating because as you pull it apart, you don't see what's catching.
Right.
How come it's not coming apart?
Right.
No matter which way you hold it,
and
it's going to lock itself.
So these are like really modern Appalachian wire puzzles.
Now watch this. I don't know if we can get a close-up of this.
All right.
But if you've got pins that are falling because of gravity this way and this way, there's no way to unlock it unless you get some little centrifugal force happening, or more precisely, their inertia will cause them to move out. And if I give that a little spin,
Whoa!
it just falls apart.
Wow!
You don't need to force it; it just wants to fall apart once you've spun it. Isn't that beautiful? So
really
yeah, I've got a
awesome.
lot of stuff here. What?
I'm picking up all the puzzles. Okay, I'm
This
gonna
one-
play with those later.
Well, yeah, I'll go through these later. I don't want to spoil the solutions for those out there watching who should really get into them. I love topology stuff at the moment. These are spheres that dissect into a bunch of pieces. I bought at the dollar store, 3 for $1, but yet the mechanism or the design behind it is so clever and so easy to put back together.
Right.
I actually Instagrammed it. I was so excited about the simplicity of how it comes apart and goes together.
This is when we finished Mythbusters, we packed up my desk, and it was exactly like this, like a couple of 100 pounds of this stuff.
Yes, this desk is super heavy for a few reasons. One is the Tungsten Cube.
Oh,
There it is. Isn't that surprising?
that is fabulous.
This is larger, but not as heavy.
And that's solid steel. That's a plumb bob.
It's a plumb bob, and I used that in the What If the Earth Stopped Spinning video. It was so heavy I could actually tape a camera to it and then have the camera on a pendulum.
So I'm noticing you've got a lot of materials, different materials, and I saw you open this one earlier. How do you know?
Oh, I think they open down. Yeah. So this is a density cube set. Each cube is 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch, and it gives you a really good idea of density and how different things feel. One of my favorite things to do is, because different metals have different thermal conductivities, I will pull some at, well, one's copper, one's, how about let's do iron and copper, and I'll mix them up so I don't know which one is which, and then I'll just put them on my forehead, and I'll try to guess which is which by which one feels cooler.
And the one that feels cooler should be copper. It has a higher
Copper
conductivity.
should feel cooler. The question is,
Which one is copper?
I feel like the cooler one is,
It's Michael. Michael's the cool one.
that's right, oh, the coolest. But between these two, the cooler is, I can't get this wrong. I think,
You actually can get it wrong.
yeah, I actually can. But I'm thinking that this one's copper.
You got it.
Hey!
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 I can tell you've got a little anxiety about that. It totally worked.
I knew I could do it, but if I didn't get it right on camera, I'd look like a fool. My desk, by the way, happens to be littered with pens that you can't really see in the video. They are pens that are erasable because the ink inside of them becomes invisible when heated. You can erase the ink in this pen by just rubbing the other end of the pen over the ink, heating it up to the invisible point. A really fun way to erase a lot of stuff at once is to just use a flame.
This is also, I'm just going to go also for the other. This is more.
This is also a density set, but in this case, every cylinder is 100 grams. That's 100 grams of aluminum,
And this is lead.
and that's lead.
Nice.
And then we've got brass, copper, I think zinc, and steel.
Is that a standard tarnish on lead?
I don't know, because it's tarnished the part that's hidden
touching
in the wood.
The reason
which
I'm asking
maybe holds
is
moisture or something.
One of the original Maltese Falcons, 2 of the original Maltese Falcons were made out of lead, and they now have this very dark brown patina on them. And I have wondered, and never wondered aloud, but I have wondered if a brown patina is something that happens to lead.
It must, but why did it not happen on the part that was exposed to the air?
I'm actually noticing a interesting patina on the brass and the copper as well from the contact with the wood.
Yeah.
So it could be oils in the wood. The Maltese Falcon could be brown from many people handling it.
Yeah, it could be.
All right, so what do you think is the worst thing someone could conclude from looking at your desk?
I wouldn't be sad if they concluded that I was disorganized, because that's true.
Right, well, there's disorganization and then there's disorganization. You're not inhibited from getting your work done. by this
Yeah,
desk.
exactly. That is a piece of calcite that has that birefringence property,
Right.
where if you, what's a good, here.
Does double vision?
It does double vision, yeah. See, I'm not disorganized. I can find a legal pad in a second. So let's just draw like a circle.
Yeah.
That's not a great circle.
Oh, that's really
and then rotate it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the most recent object to... I'm just going to clean your space up just a tiny bit.
Hey, yeah, thanks for parking my little scoot.
What's the most recent thing you've brought into the space?
The most recent, I guess, would be...
Oh, that's really cool.
Isn't that cool? That's called a TV rock. It's a piece of ulexite with fiber optic properties.
Cool. I found out that the famous fact about polar bear fur is supposed to be fiber optic is not true.
Oh, is it not true?
Apparently it's not.
So I didn't even know that fact, but if you were to tell me it, I would believe it.
Yeah, no, it's one of those like, oh yeah, totally, I buy it.
Newest object.
Newest object.
It's the speaker.
Oh! I saw this yesterday.
Yeah,
this
that
awesome.
came in the curiosity box, this third one. And it looks like a laboratory beaker, but it's a double-walled thing with a handle you can drink coffee out of. And it has milliliter measurements on it, but I was like, milliliters, we've heard about those. Let's use some crazy units. So what do you see?
This is the volume of blood in your brain. This is
Yeah.
the amount of saliva produced every 3 hours during the day.
If you fill it all the way up
Yeah.
to 300 milliliters, it also tells you that filled to here, the beaker contains approximately 10 septillion water molecules. I should, of course, point out the spit error. I misspelled saliva on the beaker, on every beaker, in fact. It's completely my fault. I take full blame. And spit, if you are out there watching, please know that I respect you, even though I'm not perfect.
I'm going to move past this because I just did a rack focus on the globe. And am I right that that is one of those bespoke globes made by that company in England?
Yeah, Ballarby Globes. Here, okay, yeah, well, you can go get it.
Can I?
It's not really a surprise that I love globes. I've done a lot of videos about what does the Earth look like, how are map projections made, and this was a gift from my wife on our wedding day.
What a beautiful
in fact,
gift.
if you look up at the top of the globe, it has written the company that made it, and then it says our names.
Marnie Duncan and Michael David
Right.
Stevens, oh my God.
And then it's got the place of our wedding and the date. And then the base, which is over there, has a plaque that says, to my husband on our wedding day. So these globes are the most accurate.
I know,
made.
I'm very familiar with these globes
They're
because I
handmade.
go to their website every few weeks and think, that they make them really large.
They make what's called the Churchill,
Yeah.
and you couldn't even hug it.
I think this is a reasonable place to stop the desk tour. I'm just going to go off into a corner and look at this for a couple of hours.
Yeah, sure, of course. I'll get some work done. Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
So there you go. Brain Candy Live hits the road on February 21st, traveling to 40 cities around the United States. Check braincandylive.com to see which cities we're coming to. We're probably coming to one near you. The rest of our global viewers, please don't worry. We are considering and looking at tours in the rest of this beautiful globe, but for right now, it's just the United States. See you out there on the road, and as always, thanks for watching.
But wait, there's more. Let's talk about the eye, specifically blinking. We all do it. It's good for our eyes to blink. But is there a chance that at some point in the future there will come a moment during which every single pair of eyes on Earth, every single human is blinking at the exact same time, a moment we will all miss due to blinkage? You blink your eyes anywhere from 30 times a minute all the way down to, well, just 3 or 4 times a minute if you're fixated on something, like when reading. That can actually explain partially why your eyes might become dry or fatigued while reading. Also, a typical blink lasts about 100 to 300 milliseconds, which means if you are awake for 16 hours a day, and you blink, say, 10 times a minute on average, and your blinks are, just to be conservative here, only 100 milliseconds long, in a waking day, you spend about 16 minutes of your life in blink mode with your eyes closed. That's a lot of minutes to miss every day. But what about all of us blinking together? Well, the math has been done on Reddit, and the chances aren't good. There is a 0.00004 billion more zeros 1% chance that today every single human will blink their eyes at the same time, or have them closed because they're asleep. That is a very small chance. Even given the number of days in the universe's life so far, you just wouldn't expect to have ever seen it happen or to ever see it happen. So remember, Earth, we are always watching. And as always, thanks for watching.
Barry licking his lips.
Cool.
All right, you want to just play it back before I move?
Yeah, can you cut on the audio recorder?